Florence Rolle is the Malawi delegate of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. She joins us on the line from Lilongwe, the capital of Malawi. Good evening, Florence. Now, what is the current situation following the drought early in the year?
Good evening. So this year, 2015, has not been a good year for Malawi. And you know, for Malawi, when the rainy season goes wrong, everything goes wrong. So we had late onset of rains, heavy floods beginning of the year, prolonged dry spell, and early cessation of rain. So as a result of this very erratic rainfall season, we have had a very net decrease in the maize production, a 30% decrease in maize production, which is a state food in Malawi. So in September, the president of the government of Malawi launched a food insecurity response plan, which identified 2.8 million of people at risk of hunger.
Now, Florence, beyond this food and security plan, are there any other urgent interventions needed?
So the plan was developed under the leadership of the government with all the stakeholders, and it outlines the main interventions that are needed, which are food assistance, direct food assistance or through cash, agricultural interventions, and nutrition interventions. And we started, I mean, all of us together, we started distribution of food in October. It will continue until January, February, and March. And the government of Malawi bought maize, and withdrew maize from the strategic grain reserve to feed its people.
Florence, climate change is the big talk of the town. Can this drought be attributed to climate change specifically, or are there any other reasons?
It is the first impact of climate change, of course. You know, when you ask a farmer here in Malawi what is happening, the first thing he will tell you is that the rain used to start in October. These days, it starts between beginning of December up to end of December. So this is a clear result of the erratic and the higher variability of the climate in Malawi. Of course, there are other factors which are exacerbating the impact of climate change. The main one that I can think of is deforestation, for example. In particular, looking at the impact of floods due to climate change.
Now, is there any threat of further flooding?
So that's a question, the big question. As you know, there is a strong forecast of El Niño phenomenon. So we all know that this El Niño phenomenon will be strong. However, to know the exact impact it's going to provide in Africa is difficult to predict, of course. But the meteorologists are forecasting for Malawi some floods, of course, and some dry spells. So we need to be prepared for that.
Now, just finally, Florence, talk to us about continuing social protection support strategy and some of the programs.
So the government has a social protection support program, which is made of several activities, being cash transfer to the poorest people of Malawi, who are the most vulnerable to shocks, of course, public works, school meals, etc. It has, these form the basis for getting Malawians more resilient to shocks. So we really need to move from an emergency response mode to a development response mode building on the social protection programs of the Malawian government.
Florence, just before we let you go, Malawi has also been grappling with a problem of malnutrition, which affects an estimated 1.4 million children. What's the situation like at the moment?
So the malnutrition, I mean, the malnutrition rate is very high in Malawi. It is 42% of the children under 5 which are malnourished, which are stunted. And these malnutrition rates are likely to increase with food insecurity situation in the country. We really need to work on both sides, the supply side and the demand side, so to look at more nutritious food demand, because the diet of Malawians is very much concentrated in staple, but also the production from an agricultural point of view, we need to diversify the supply as well. So both sides, demand and supply sides, should go together to reduce the stunting rate in Malawi.